podcast time. Just getting things adjusted, getting things ready. But guys, it's Thursday. I hope you are having a fantastic Thursday. And yeah, today we're going to be talking a little bit about mindset. And this is something I've come back to a few times on the podcast just because it blows me away, the attitude that some people have around information that they find online and things like that. So I wanted to dig a little deeper into that today. So we're going to talk about mindset around new information. And so as you tune in, drop a comment. Let me know how your Thursday is going. Let me know where you're at. If you're struggling with anything in your training, things that you want to maybe see a little bit more of in terms of social media content from me. Always open to new ideas. There will always be more stuff coming, but always open to hearing what you guys want to hear as well. Also, as you tune in, make sure, if you haven't yet, join the free Facebook group. We are dropping new information in there every single week. I'm doing a weekly Q&A session on Fridays. And so we want to make sure that you join that group. There's going to be a lot of really good information for you dropped in there. Islam and Volk, that's going to be a super fun fight. I think Volk can pull it off. I think that's going to be a super fun one. I'm excited for it. And let me know what you think too. But anyways, we are going to get going into the podcast. Somebody just commented there at Domino's drunk as hell. For your sake, I hope you're not in the same time zone as me, because that's really sad for 11:20 in the morning on a Thursday. If you want to join the Facebook group, drop me a DM, and I will get you the link to that. I don't have the link handy right now, so I can't drop it here, but send me a message and I will get you the link to that right away. All right, mindset around new information. Let's get going in 3, 2, 1. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Elite Development Podcast, the #1 show for athletes looking to gain an edge on their opponents and build their dream careers in sport. I'm your host, Kenny Dusseault, and today we are talking about your mindset around new information. Why? Why are we talking about this? So this is something I've talked about a few times on the show before, but it never ceases to blow my mind how close-minded people are when it comes to new information that they find. And it's a touchy subject because I understand there's a lot of bullshit out on the internet. I'm not saying that, if you find it on the internet, you should definitely listen to it, especially when it comes to training stuff. There are a lot of morons out there just doing funny shit that they find on Instagram and thinking that they're running a coaching business. But you've got to at least be a little open-minded. Now, the reason that I'm doing this podcast is because yesterday I got a comment from a guy who was very upset that I said that running is not the ultimate way to build a gas tank for combat sports. And he was very upset that I said this. And so I asked what I think his exact comment was, "This is bullshit." So I asked him, what about this is bullshit? And basically he said, basically went on about how all these other fighters run, so that means it's the best thing. And so I asked him, I was like, well, what about the information in the video was wrong? Because the video was about the energy systems in the body and how to train them more effectively and how that affects your gas tank. He said nothing about the information's wrong, but he was still upset that I said that it wasn't just all about running, which was a little silly in my opinion. But this is something that I see so often, that people get upset about something that they see and they watch about 2 seconds of an entire video and they form an opinion. Now, this is just one example, but I've had a number of people on these same videos or on different videos talking about how when I mentioned, you need to learn how to train all 3 energy systems in the body, I've had people tell me that, I'm a snake oil salesman, I'm full of shit, I'm selling people bullshit, it doesn't actually work, everything I'm saying is wrong, blah, 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 blah. And guys, I want to reinforce anything that I talk about when it comes to conditioning work, when it comes to improving the energy systems in the body and all this isn't something I've invented. You can take a quick 5-minute Google search and search anaerobic alactic energy system, and you'll get a shit ton of searches. I promise you. This is not just some random thing that I pulled out of the air and said, okay, I'm going to try to start selling people on energy systems. Like, no, this is sports science. Like, this is how the body works. There's years and years and years and years of research behind it. There's like so many different coaches that actually are talking about it. But where this mindset comes from is people hear something that doesn't agree with what they're doing. And instead of thinking, maybe I can learn something from this person, their immediate reaction is, that's not what my coach said, so it's bullshit and fuck you. And it's hilarious to me because any one coach doesn't have all the answers, myself included. Like, I'm not sitting here saying, listen to me and don't listen to anybody else. Like, there are coaches that are going to know shit that I don't know 100%. But I'm not going to see some information from them and immediately just dismiss it as bullshit. So I really wanted to address this mindset because it's something that is holding so many athletes back. And it's held me back in the past before too. Like, there's a lot of things that I've found online that immediately, my first reaction is, ugh, I don't like that. And then when I look a little deeper, I'm like, oh, actually, that's a really good tool that you can be used. And one of the best examples is, for the longest time, so actually we'll start this like this. If you were using agility ladders to make yourself more agile, you're fucking up. That's not what they're actually good for. Because agility is being able to react and adjust based off of what's in front of you. And an agility ladder just teaches you how to move your feet fast. And moving your feet fast is not a bad thing, but it's not going to make you more agile because there's no reaction element like there is in the sport. Now, because of that, for the longest time, I just thought agility ladders are bullshit. Agility ladders are useless. You shouldn't use them. They're stupid. They don't make any sense. They don't help. And then I saw a video from my good friend, Jeff Lavecchio. He's a hockey strength and conditioning coach in the States. And he said, he did a video about agility ladders, and he was like, if you're using agility ladders to make yourself more agile, you're fucking up. But they're actually a really good tool to warm your body up because you're getting yourself moving fast, you're getting your feet moving in different directions, and like, you're teaching your body new patterns. So it's not going to improve your agility, but you're going to still see improvements from using them. And right away, I just remember thinking, oh shit, I'm an idiot. Like, I saw this one tool and it was described in a certain way, and I decided, that's stupid and I'm never using that. And with one video, I was like, oh shit, like, there's actually a lot of really good uses for this tool, but I was too stubborn to see them. So they're a great tool, just used in the wrong context, which gives them a bad rap. Now, why is that important? Because, like in that story, so many athletes see me say, hey, conditioning should be built in different ways other than just going for long runs. And they say, well, my boxing coach says that you should just go for long runs. Okay. Why is your boxing coach saying that? Well, the chances are their boxing coach said that. And their boxing coach said that. And back and back and back and back and back. And then they're taking the attitude of, this is how we've always done it. And that is the worst attitude in sports. Because, guys, we evolve, we grow, we learn. As time goes on, we understand things that we don't understand, that we didn't understand years ago. Even from a sports science standpoint, I look at some of the programs that I was writing for athletes 5 years ago, and I want to call them up and apologize. Because the programming that I'm writing now is so much better. And on that same note, I'm sure 5 years from now, I'm going to be wanting to call up athletes that I'm working with right now and be like, man, I'm so sorry that we weren't doing all of these other things, because we're always learning and developing. But there are some people out there that get so stuck in their own head being like, well, my coach said do this, and his coach told him, and his coach told him. Just because your coaches have been doing it, it doesn't mean it's the right answer. And just because someone's coming with something new, it doesn't mean it's wrong. So how do we distinguish between information that we should pay attention to and information that's just random bullshit you find online? Because there is a lot of that as well. I'm not sitting here saying that everything you find on the internet training related is going to be good. Number one, ask yourself, who's the source of this information? And so, like, if you're watching a video of mine and you say, oh, energy systems, that's bullshit, then who's the source of the information? And then when you look through my profile and you hear me talking about energy systems, about this, about that, try to figure out what I've actually been doing. And so in my case, I've been coaching for 15 years. I have a degree in sports studies and athletic development, worked with athletes all the way from the grassroots level of 7, 8, 9-year-old kids, all the way through to professional MMA, professional boxing, professional football, and basically everywhere in between. And through that time, I've also spent about $250,000 on continuing education within this industry. So then you look at the sources that you have about the information that you're using right now, and you say, well, my boxing coach has been boxing for a long time. Like, cool, that's really good. But just because you understand a sport, it doesn't mean you understand athlete development. And as an example, I am not a fighter. I'm a strength and conditioning coach that helps fighters. I understand how to build an athlete. If I started putting out technique videos being like, hey, this is how you throw your left hook, and this is how that's wrong. You should not be listening to that if it's coming from me, because that's not my lane. Just like if you have a boxing coach, and again, there are some boxing coaches that'll have strength and conditioning backgrounds and all that, but if you have a boxing coach tell you lifting weights makes you slow, he is wrong or she is wrong, and I will put every dollar that I have in the bank on that. Why? Because lifting weights does not make you slow, because science has proven that time and time and time and time again. But when people say that, instead of just being like, okay, lifting weights makes you slow, ask, well, like, why? How does that happen? Who told you that? Where did you get that information? Try to understand more. And when that story quickly falls apart because they're like, well, if you have more muscle, you can't move it as fast. That's not based off anything. Whereas if you ask me about why I coach the energy systems and why I coach conditioning through improving those 3 systems, I can talk you through the details. I'm not going to do that again on this podcast because there's a ton of information about me talking about that stuff already. And if you have questions about it, you can absolutely send me a message. But I can talk you through the science of how they all work together. Whereas somebody saying lifting weights makes you slow, they're just going to be like, well, you're getting more muscle and you can't move it fast. It doesn't make any fucking sense. So when it comes to new information, instead of just saying, that's not what I do, so it's bullshit, or that's not what I do, so fuck that guy, ask yourself, number one, who is the source? Who is the person that is delivering the information? And do they have some form of credibility? Number two, ask yourself, why don't I like it? I'll give you an example of this too. So a couple years ago, I was training a couple more athletes that were not specifically MMA or not specifically combat sports. And I was training a hockey player, and he sent me a video of another hockey strength and conditioning coach. And this dude had athletes wearing their skates in the gym. Yes, you heard that correctly, wearing their skates in the gym, jumping onto standing tires. So like big airplane tires, standing on the edge so they were unbalanced. And he had athletes wearing their skates, jumping onto these standing tires and then trying to balance themselves. And when he was asked, why do you have your athletes doing this? I can't remember the exact wording of the explanation, but it was, oh, it's sport specific because they're wearing their skates. And I'm like, okay, that's the stupidest fucking thing I've ever heard in my life. Like, skates are not meant to be worn in the gym. Sorry. But also, when you go through a quick assessment of that, risk versus reward, what are we getting out of this exercise? Probably lower body explosive power from the jump, right? Now, is there a safer way to get that lower body explosive power? Yes. Take the fucking skates off. And then the final thing, with adding the skates in, is that going to give them enough benefit to outweigh the risk of them walking around in their skates or trying to land on unstable surfaces on an unstable surface? No. Because if they're skating already a bunch of hours in their week, which high-level hockey players should be, they don't need extra balance on their skates because they have good balance on their skates. So you can get more power out of the exercise taking the fucking skates off. So you're going to get a better result in a safer way. So as soon as I went through that quick assessment, I'm like, okay, no, I don't like this information. Not because it upsets me because it's not what I do, but because it's unsafe and it's not fucking useful. You get what I'm saying? So if you hear new information, instead of just saying that's not what I do, so it's bullshit, go through a quick assessment. Does this actually make sense? Why or why not? And if it doesn't make sense, that doesn't necessarily mean it's bad. That means you need to learn more. You know, if you read something of mine or watch something of mine and it says you need to train more explosive power and repeatability because that's going to help with improving your ability to throw hard combinations later in your fight, you go, oh, but my coach always says just go for long runs. Ask yourself, is there a possibility that this could help me? Which hopefully your response is yes. And in turn, if you don't understand it, ask questions. Don't just dismiss it. Now, number 3, why do I have the opinion that I do? The next question to ask yourself when you're seeing information you either don't understand, don't like, whatever it is, why do I have the opinion that I do? So we're going to go back to the example of my coach says, always just go for long runs. And so if you hear someone talking about conditioning in other ways that isn't what you're used to doing, a lot of people have the opinion, this is bullshit because my coach says A, B, C, and D. And so you've got to ask yourself, where is my coach getting his information or her information? Right? And so if you ask yourself that question, it doesn't mean that your coach is a bad coach or isn't, doesn't have your best interest in mind. It just might mean they're going off of what they know and there's other information out there. I'm not trying to sit here and say any coach that tells his athletes to run is a bad person. No, they're going off of the information that they know. But if you ask yourself, why don't I like this new thing that I'm seeing? And why do I have the opinion about it that I do? And if you have the opinion about it because, well, my coach said this, put yourself in neutral shoes and say, if this wasn't my coach, what would I think about this information? And the reason that's so important to do is because, guys, I love loyalty to coaches. I think athletes should be loyal to their coaches. But like I said earlier in this podcast, there's not one coach out there that has all the answers, myself included. But if you have the mentality of I can only listen to my coach ever because they have all the answers, you are putting massive limitations on the potential that you have in your career. Massive. And that's the same with me. I encourage my athletes to be asking me questions, to be bringing me new information, to be sending me things that they think would be useful in their training. Sometimes I use it. Sometimes I explain to them why I don't like it. But I encourage that because they find information that ends up benefiting my ability as a coach, which in turn ends up benefiting them more. And if your coach is closed-minded and your coach is saying, no, if it's not what we do, it's wrong, you're not working with a great coach. Because if your coach thinks they have all the answers, that is ego talking, and that's going to hurt you more than it's going to help you. Now, the final question that you need to ask yourself when you see new information that you don't necessarily agree with or understand is, can I get more information? So again, at this point, we've asked, who is the source that's delivering this information and do they have any credibility? Number 2, we ask, why don't I like it? If you don't like the information that you're seeing, is it because it's a safety issue, or logic issue that this doesn't make sense? Or is it because I have an opinion that's different than the opinion that they're giving? Number 3, why do I have the opinion that I do? And if that is because my coach says A, B, C, D, then you need to learn more about it before just dismissing it and saying, nope, I already have all the answers. And finally, can I find more information? Because guys, if there's information out there that you're reading and it's a little bit intriguing, you're going, oh, I don't really know, if this makes sense, or I'm not really sure. Instead of just dismissing it, if it has the potential to help you, why wouldn't you want to learn more? Like the amount of comments I get on the conditioning posts that I put out that just say, all you need to do is, and then insert like one conditioning exercise. Like one guy I remember on a post a while back just said burpees, dot, 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 you're welcome. I'm like, what? Like, yeah, just do burpees. That'll be all the conditioning you need. And this is based off what? The fact that burpees are hard. So there's no thought process or science or any kind of anything going into that. Yes, burpees are hard. Are they going to improve your conditioning? For sure. Are they the best way to improve your conditioning? Absolutely fucking not. So with those kinds of things, you need to be smarter first about how you're getting your information. And second, you need to be always looking to improve the information that you're getting. Always looking to improve the execution of the information that you're using. If you're not doing that, you're putting massive, massive, massive limitations on the potential you have in your career. So guys, I hope that makes sense. I hope that shifted a little bit of perspective for you. I hope you learned something. If you did, I would love to know what it was. As always, you can find the information on how you can send me a message through my social medias. Go ahead and follow me on all of those. All the information there is going to be in the show notes below. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day. And my number one ask of you always is share the show around, share it with a friend, a coach, a teammate, somebody who has a little bit of that closed mind that might need to hear this message. So I appreciate you all. Have a fantastic rest of your day, and I'll catch you on the next episode. Guys, appreciate you all joining. I am just ending the stream over here.